the world changed. It just changed. And many people ask me, systemic racism, what is it? 8 minutes, 46 seconds was the most graphic definition of systemic racism. That police officer did not believe he was doing anything wrong. That police officer for 8 minutes, 46 seconds had his hand in his pocket, checking his phone as though it was just another day at the office. His colleagues didn't believe he was doing anything wrong. No one around intervened. No one felt he was doing anything wrong. When he got to the station, back to his station that evening, he didn't expect to be reprimanded. He didn't expect anything to change whatsoever. That is systemic racism. He thought he was doing his job. So many people in the world, and at the time, the convergence of the pandemic, with so many people not being at work, looking on their smartphones, looking on TV, we shared something that should never, ever happen again. But it just might be the catalyst to the start of a different world. And when we say no one is born a racist, people are taught to hate. You learn to hate. We can teach you to love. You can learn to love. And one thing for everyone who's on the line today, let's talk a little bit about leadership. I want to explode a myth, the biggest myth in Western developed societies. Leaders are only at the top of the organization. It's nonsense. Managers are at the top of the organization. Leaders are everywhere. Everybody on this call can be a leader if they choose to be. We learn to do management. It's taught at business schools, it's taught at universities, it's taught at colleges, it's taught within business. Leadership is a choice. It's a choice that you can make now. When you decide to be a leader, nothing, no one can take it away from you. And the first two bits I'd like you to focus on. Can you influence? Can you persuade? Can you influence? Can you persuade? Without authority. They're the first two steps. And if you want a model to guide you for leadership today, the contemporary model for leadership today, think mothers at home. Think that surfeit of empathy. All of their charges they have from mother, from sister, brother, aunt, niece, gran, daughter, son, they have a different touch for everyone. They know what works for absolutely everyone. They know the boundaries. They know when to coax, when to cajole, when to come in. They're always visible. They're always there. Their communication skills are amazing. The empathy is outstanding. That's the sort of leaders we need for today. And just as a little sideline, if we look at all the nations being led by a woman are not doing badly with the pandemic today. You look at the top 15 that are doing the worst, the heads of state are alpha males. Empathy works. Emotional intelligence works. It's not strictly about gender. Men can be empathetic too. But if you want that model, look at mothers at home, and let's get into this. Yesterday, I was at a prison here in London, Her Majesty's Prison, Pentonville in North London. It's a tough old place. I'd been invited to speak to some inmates to mark Black History Month. From the minute you get there, from the minute I walk through to meet them, it's a reminder of just how unforgiving, foreboding, and dark incarceration really is. I ended up in the chapel, in the Christian chapel in the church. It had huge windows, it was light. There was 30 inmates, socially distanced. 25 were black, 5 were white. It's Black History Month. Interesting that the 5 of them who were white. From the moment I started, they sat there with their arms folded, low expectations, not expecting anything. I shared with them I was going to try and give them one gift, one skill, one competency, the ability to tell their story. Storytelling, the art of storytelling. After about 5-10 minutes, it started to warm up, but something wasn't quite right. And what I could feel was they treated me like an outsider. I didn't understand who they were. I'd never walked in their shoes. And one of them put their hand up and challenged me. How did I know anything about them? What gave me the right to speak to them? How did I know the world they came from? When I asked him where he came from, he lived on a road next to the road I grew up, in Harlesden, northwest London. We knew many people together. He worked in the dry cleaners when I was doing a milk round on his road. We had walked in each other's shoes. I'd felt where they came from. All the atmosphere changed more or less instantly. I showed them how to tell stories. They picked it up very quickly. Their arms unfolded. They were leaning forward. They were totally engaged. I was meant to be there for 40 minutes. I was there for 2 hours. Towards the end, they just milled around. I was there with one of my team members, Adam. He's 23. He's white. He's from working class Nottingham. They just lapped both of us up. And there was a couple of stories at the end that will never leave me. The guy that challenged me, that we grew up in the same area, he came up to speak to me, and none of them used their names. They never used my name. It's identity free. They're going through COVID, so there's no family visits. They spend most of their time in isolation. There's no shared activities. They don't come together at all. It was alarmingly harsh. But he touched me and he just said, "You have given me hope today." And we shook hands and he went his way. The last guy to come and speak to me, he'd sat in the middle and not said a word all the way through. He came up to me and he said, he whispered, "I can't read, I can't write." I never go to any of these sessions because I just feel as though I can't contribute. You've helped me believe that I can tell my story. I don't need to write it. I don't need to read it. I just need to tell my story. He hugged me and went on his way. I know I'm going to be back. But this is inclusive leadership. The lesson is believe in everybody. Believe in everybody. Everybody in, nobody out. But I thought I'd try and bring it alive with, I've been working with Apple and they're doing some things that are just moving the boundary, and this needs no introduction.
Open. Open a door and it opens all the others. Open a mind and see what happens next. No great thing, no beautiful invention was created in a vacuum. It happens when we leave our comfort zone and come together. Embrace faiths, cultures, disabilities, differences. Embrace races, ages, ideologies, personalities, creating a tool or device nobody saw coming. Humanity is plural, not singular. The best way the world works is everybody in, nobody out. So who we're made of is everyone. Differences not just celebrated, but essential. Many more women in charge, equal pay for equal work, everywhere. A new generation of Apple, more diverse than the one that came before. Open is not just who we are, but what we believe as a company. Because humanity isn't singular, it's plural. The truth is, we don't see things the same. The power is, we don't see things the same.
The power is we don't see things the same. The strength is we don't see things the same. We've been lucky enough to do some work with the Beverly Wilshire Hotel in LA. 6 years on the trot, voted #1 hotel in the world. It's where they shot Pretty Woman, of course. Julia Roberts, Richard Gere, everything you saw in the film, believe you me, it's true. But it doesn't come naturally. It's not a gift. They work at it. The general manager, Todd, is just an amazing leader. They have 3 African-American doormen that run 3 8-hour shifts. Every Friday morning, Todd has a manager's meeting. He invites the 3 doormen. Why? Well, you might think because they collectively have 250 customer interactions every day. They have the pulse of the customer. But that's not why he invites them. There's a much deeper, better reason. That hotel, where anyone who comes to any hotel, the touch point of the brand is when you hit those doors, the reception you get, the greeting you get, the welcome you get. By inviting those 3 guys to his manager's meeting, guess how they feel? They're not managers, but guess how they feel? They're not item number 9 on the agenda. They're not item number 23. They are always item number 1. The first thing Todd says at the meeting, guys, how are our customers? What are your insights? What have you seen? What have you heard? What can you share with us? No matter what shift they're on, they turn up in their best bib and tucker. They're proud to be recognized. They're proud to be acknowledged. As soon as he asks a question, he's created a connection. If he listens to their response, he's created engagement. If he acts on one of their ideas, he's created trust. What happens when there's trust? When you're trusted, you go the extra mile. You start to feel that you belong. You've been included. Carol, I'll leave the link here so everyone can download the presentation should they want. www.carayol.com/BLIX. I shared with you that I was walking in someone else's shoes at Pentonville Prison yesterday. We got a 27-year-old in our team. Black, brilliant marketeer. She came in a few days after the George Floyd tragedy and she just could not cope. Everyone in the team gave her a damn good listening to. Everyone was sharing with her, but she just could not cope. She just found it all too overwhelming, all too difficult. I remember listening to her, trying to give her the listening to, sharing time, trying to take the weight off her shoulders. It was very, very difficult. I soon realized the journey I've been on. I've seen so much. I've felt so much. My lived experience, I've experienced, you name it, unconscious bias, systemic racism, institutional, the lot. And at far too many times in my career, there was that horrible feeling that it's career limiting to speak up, career limiting to challenge. I'd be labeled difficult. She comes from a different world and a different generation. It's just wrong, and she's going to speak out. At the same time this was going on, one of my really good friends is one of the senior managers in Twitter's office in London. We were swapping notes. He had exactly the same thing. Young woman, 27, 28 years old, came in, couldn't cope. And at first, her colleagues in Twitter's office are asking her questions about, well, how does it feel? Explain to me. She said, I'm not here to educate you. The leader in the office decided to give her and anyone who wanted time off. It was so traumatizing. Go and recover. When we walk in each other, we see the world through someone else's reality. We understand the microaggressions, the macroaggressions, the unconscious bias. Once we start to understand it and we really do live in someone else's shoes, it should bring us closer together. She taught me such a lesson in my team. She was off for a few weeks. It was traumatizing. And I realized I'd built a rhino hide. I've been in this situation so many times. I'm learning now never to accept it. Never to feel as though it's career limiting. In actual fact, it's career enhancing. My job is to speak up, speak out. The Americans call it being intentional. We have to be more assertive. Being non-racist is no longer good enough. Neutrality doesn't work. We have to be anti-racist. All of us. Far too many diversity programs talk about strategy. It's not strategy, it's culture. It's the culture we're changing. It's the values, it's the purpose. It's not the strategy. This moment changed all of us. 3 days after the tragedy, my WhatsApp went ballistic. People that I look up to, that I respect and I admire. White, middle-aged, middle-class men, chairman and chief executives of multinationals, FTSE 100, Fortune 500 companies, were texting me, calling me. Their intent was right. They didn't know where to start. They wanted to do something. Where do I start? What do I say? How do I say it? How do I avoid saying the wrong thing? Paralyzed with fear and making mistakes. I said to them, come on. Don't worry about being perfect. The only mistake is the one you don't learn from. Get involved. People will know your intent. Not everyone will remember everything that you said, but everyone will remember how you made them feel. This is leadership. Your role is to engage and get the conversation going. You will not be perfect. You will fall over. We're trying to make an omelette. We're going to have to break some eggs here. It's like swimming. You can't do it by theory. At some stage, you're going to have to dive in the pool. You will get a belly full of water. You'll be all right. There'll be people around you to tell you, to show you, to support you. We have to start somewhere, and we have to start now. Not that long ago, this was the event of the century. This was going to change our world for the better. Remember, the royal family had chosen a woman of mixed heritage. This was amazing. The service was amazing. The moment was amazing. It's not that long afterwards, they were driven out of the UK. No one wants to call it. I'm not sure it's that unconscious bias. This is a disgrace. Meghan was left saying this week she's the most trolled woman in the world. How can we be proud of that? How can we be proud of that? It's not an American problem. It's not a European problem. It's a global disease. This pandemic has been around for far too long. So about 4 years ago, I get this invite. Eastern Blossoms is a fabulous network. And I was invited to a dinner in a Chinese restaurant in South Kensington, a plush Chinese restaurant in South Kensington. And the evening was called Breaking the Bamboo Ceiling. It's only when I arrived and we're sitting down that I realized I was the only non-Chinese guest at the dinner. Fabulous dinner. And one of the guests, Lynn, she's a managing director at Goldman Sachs, she got up during the dinner to read a speech. And it went something along these lines. All of us have come from China, and we're all from one-children families. We are the only bet our parents have. We are pushed to the limits academically. The reason we're here in London is because we achieved academically. We got the best, outrageous marks. We came here, all of us, to do further education, a master's, a PhD, and we've done that brilliantly. We have a natural work ethic. We will work all the hours. There's nothing about us that wants second place. We want to be the best. We're bright, we're smart, we're hardworking. But as I speak to you today and I look at all the companies in the UK, FTSE 100, FTSE 250, multinationals, there is not one Chinese chief executive. If I look at all the professional services firms, the consultancies, the auditors, the lawyers, there is not one Chinese managing partner. I put it to you, there's only one reason for this. Unconscious bias, systemic racism, institutionalized racism. How are we going to get around this? In that instant, I soon realized why I had been invited. For far too many years before, I sat in similar dinners. We were all black. We're all saying a very similar thing. And we found coping mechanisms. We started to think we were the problem. We needed to change. I shared with them. I asked them some questions. How well do you know your colleagues, your peers? They didn't. How well do you mix with them? They didn't. I shared with them they needed to be popular. They needed to know them. How many of you have invited them to your house or their house? I did all that sort of stuff. But the truth is, It's not the people, the talent that needs fixing. Our society needs to look at people who are different, very differently, embrace them and see the talent. I shared with them, I've yet to experience anyone fulfilling their leadership potential without the intervention of a mentor. I've yet to see it. Get yourself a mentor. Get someone to help you understand the rules of engagement, the unwritten rules of engagement, how to navigate complex institutions, how to get to the top. Someone who's going to care for you, someone who's going to listen to you, someone who's going to be there to challenge you, to support you. I left the evening with 6 mentees, as you can imagine. And the guy to my, as usual, to my left there, Nils, amazing. He was at Amazon. He's now gone to Seattle to be one of the most senior directors at Amazon. He got it. He understood. He could adapt, but he was assertive. He knew how to stand up for himself. Rule number 1, you want to get to the top, you want to overcome any of the systemic issues, find yourself a mentor. Someone who behaves in the way that you would like to replicate. Aim as senior as you possibly can. The chairman or the chief executive. They will say yes because nobody ever asked them. No one ever thinks they're going to say yes. Get the most senior person you can. And if it starts to go a little difficult, turn to flattery. Flattery works every time. You'll get them. We've been lucky enough to work with some of the amazing companies around the world. Every single one of these companies we're working with is starting to look at their diversity, their inclusion, their belonging, their equality. This has never happened before. Every single one of them. I've been lucky enough to coach some amazing leaders around the world. Not one of these leaders is an all-rounder. Not one of these leaders is great at everything. But every single one of them that I've coached has the humility to know the 2 or 3 things they're outstanding at. We call them their spikes. My last book was Spike. It was all about what are you great at. Every one of you on this call has a gift, a blessing, something you are outstanding at. Everyone is brilliant at something. No one is brilliant at everything. The trick is to find the 1, 2, or 3 things you're outstanding at. Build your career around that. Then identify the businesses, the organizations whose values match yours. Recipe for success. Stop working on the 28 things you're not so good at. Focus on the 2 or 3 things you're fantastic at and get them to near Olympian standard. What these guys do, they've realized that they can't do everything, but the team can do everything. They understand the 2 or 3 things they are magnificent at. They then build a team around them that picks up the things they're not so good at. We're beyond looking for being obsessed with the best person for the job, which always gets us to the cleverest man in the room. Progressive businesses are looking for the best person for the team. It brings a completely different lens, and you might just be that person. The strength of the pack is the wolf. The strength of the wolf is the pack. It's the team that works today. There is no room for the lone wolf anymore. I'm the son of immigrants. My parents came from Gambia in the early 1960s to the mother country. We had primary education, secondary education, no tertiary, no universities. Their dream, like many of the immigrants that came from the Commonwealth, get their children educated and head back to Gambia. I finished university, 10 years Marks and Spencer. Before I know it, I'm on the board of Pepsi. I'm at Marks and Spencer, the phone rings. They're looking for a board director for Pepsi. I knew they had the wrong person. I didn't have the best degree. I didn't go to the best university. I wasn't the best merchandiser at Marks and Spencer. I was good at all the things. I was good enough at my job. I'd never been in the boardroom. April 1992, I'm on the board of Pepsi. My very first day of work in Purchase, New York. I'm there with my colleagues, 7 of us in those dark days, it was 7 men. I'm the only non-American. I don't look like them. I don't sound like them. We're shaking hands my first day of work and we're in the boardroom. And in that boardroom, it was amazing. As we shook hands, got to know each other, I'm really worried I'm imposter, I'm going to get found out. Opens the door, in comes Larry, Group Chief Executive. An amazing guy. And Larry says, gentlemen, let me introduce you to our new board director, Rene Carayol. He has no notes. He has no Google. It's April 1992. Let me tell you a little bit about Rene. Rene's parents came to London, came to UK from Gambia in the early 1960s. How the hell did he know that? I'd never put it on a CV and never put it on an application. I never thought that was going to serve me well anywhere. He went on to talk about my primary school, junior school, high school in chronological order. No notes, no Google. He talked through my time at university. Guess how he's making me feel? I did 9 different jobs at 10 years at Marks and Spencer. He nailed them one by one by one. No notes, no Google. The whole thing took about 3-4 minutes. It's lasted me a lifetime. As I'm talking to you now, I can feel it. No one had ever done anything like that for me before. Gone so far out of their way to make me feel as though I belong. He made me feel I was family. There was nothing I would not do for Larry. What are you doing for your people when they join? How far are you going out of your way to make them feel that they're really special? They're part of something special. Until the lions have their own storytellers, the tales of the hunt will always favor the hunter. What's your story? We all have a story. Learn to tell that story. So the job I do, it's very rare that I get the call when things are going brilliantly. I get the call when the bomb is just about to go off. It's Tuesday evening, it's 10 in the evening. The phone rings, it's Angie. She used to be the group HR director at Lloyds Bank. We know each other really well. She's now the group HR director at Sainsbury. She calls me, Rene, I need you to have breakfast with the group chief executive, Mike Cooper, at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. What's up, Angie? What's gone wrong? Well, he's called together the operating board, the top 40 in the company. He's going to confront them at 9 o'clock and he's going to tell them that 20% of their annual bonus is now going to be measured on inclusion. Angie, that sounds like a really good thing to happen. Well, he's not told them, he's not prepared them. Buy me 6 to 8 weeks, put him off for 6 to 8 weeks so I can get around them. I'm sure it would go well, but not if he just chucks at them tomorrow morning. 7 o'clock, I'm having breakfast with Mike. Prior to being chief executive, who's the chief financial officer, he's got numbers, he's got data, he's got the engagement survey, he's got 360-degree feedback, he's got charts, graphs, and he's mesmerized with this stuff, but I'm bored stiff. Mike, numbers don't create excitement. Numbers aren't going to do engagement. They're not going to get you where you need to be. It's inarguable, but that's not winning their hearts and minds. They need to know why inclusion is so important to you and to them today. So what do? Tell them a story. What do you mean a story? I start to sense that storytelling. So managers talk strategy, leaders tell stories. Got it. I wasn't sure he had it. I decided I'm going to stand at the back of the room in case it doesn't quite go to plan. Mike comes in, it's 9 o'clock, the 40 people are in there, there's an expectant hush, and Mike tells this story. Mike was born in Solihull, in a small village outside Solihull in the middle of the UK. He was the first of his extended family to get to university. Not any university. Mike got to Balliol College, Oxford, one of the top centres of learning on the planet. As soon as he arrived, within minutes, he was made to feel he had the wrong accent. At the first lunch, he was lost. The array of plates, crockery, glasses, cutlery, he didn't know how to navigate it. The following day, there was a white tie party. He didn't know what white tie was. He soon realized his first year, he felt an outsider. He felt invisible. It was one of the worst years of his life. At the start of the second year, a couple of guys, realizing that he was lost, grabbed him. They're going to show him the ropes. They're going to show him the unwritten laws of engagement. They pulled him around. They took him around. These next 2 years were 2 of the best years of his life. He felt he belonged. He was part of something special. It was amazing. He shared with his colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, when I walk around our warehouses, depots and stores, far too many of our 170,000 colleagues feel invisible. They don't feel they belong until now. I need all of you in this room to join me to ensure nobody feels invisible again at Sainsbury. Nobody argued. Everyone accepted 20% of their bonus would be inclusion. The power of the story. 2 weeks ago, Sainsbury's put out this advert for Black History Month. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? I mean, I saw it and it just shook me. Sainsbury. But it didn't really, because I knew what Mike stood for as chief executive. But there was the expected backlash, led by none other than our dear old friend Lawrence Fox. Lawrence loves to get himself into trouble. And he just took umbrage with the fact that they were saying we want to be inclusive. We want everyone to come and shop in an inclusive way. And he lost it, calling various people paedophiles, and he's just messed himself up again. But something happened, which I'd not seen before. When the trolls came out hammering Sainsbury, a ton of Sainsbury's customers came to the rescue, saying they didn't want those sort of people shopping at Sainsbury. They were happy if they went elsewhere. There's always a silent majority that never gets engaged. We're finding our voice. It's no longer appropriate to be neutral. We have to be anti-racist. 3 men working on a building site in the burning sun, breaking rocks, the toughest job we've ever seen. The journalist comes to the first one and says, "Why do you do this job?" "I haven't worked for 3 years. I took the first job I could get." Goes to the second, "Why do you do this job?" "I've got a wife and 3 kids to feed. I took the first job I could get." Goes to the third one, "Why do you do this job?" He wipes the sweat from his brow, leans on his shovel, looks up, smiles with pride and says, "I'm helping to build a cathedral. I'm helping to build a cathedral." Mosque, temple, or synagogue, depending on where you are. But he feels he's part of something special. That doesn't happen by accident. The role of the leader is to convince everybody in their team, no matter what role they're doing, no matter how repetitive, no matter how menial, no matter how manual, they're part of something special. They belong. You don't do it once, you do it every single day. Make everyone feel they're part of something special. Enable them to believe in you and belong to the organization. Everyone deserves to belong. The smartest organizations, the smartest businesses, they used to challenge down and support up. If you're looking for the business to join, look for the one that enables people to challenge up and they support down, where every voice is heard. The ideas no longer come from the person at the top. They come from everywhere. Be part of an organization that wants your voice, that wants to hear your contribution, enables you to feel you're part of something special. My very first job was at Marks and Spencer. They gave me a team to run, an IT team to run. And Martin joined me. He was from Leeds, big Yorkshireman, lovely guy. We were based on the Chiswick Roundabout, where the IT centre was. And it became very clear Martin had never really spent time with anyone like me, no one black. We became really good friends. He was a fantastic colleague. We really got on well. 1 week, everything went to plan. We nailed every deadline, delivered every target. On the Friday evening, I took the team out for a drink at the local Fuller's pub on the roundabout at Chiswick. We'd go there more often than not, so the manager knew us. We had a great evening. By 9 o'clock, people had started to go home. 10 o'clock, there's only me and Martin left. I asked for the bill. The barman comes up and he said, "Is there anyone other than you who can pay for the bill?" I said, "I beg your pardon. Is there anyone other than you who can pay for the bill?" Martin says, "I'll pay for the bill." I said, "Martin, shut up. I'm paying for it." No. He tried to take Martin. Martin said, "I'll pay for it." Martin not understanding what's going on. I'm starting to get a little annoyed. The manager came over. "What's going on here?" I explained what was going on. He told the bartender to get in the office. He'd deal with him shortly. He said to me, "The drinks are on the house." I said, "No, I want to pay." "By now, I'm really angry. I want to pay." No, the drinks are on the house. Martin drags me. He said, "What's the matter with you? You're so overly sensitive. That wasn't racist." Guys, Martin, shut up. You don't understand. As only 2 friends could, we're arguing down the road, walking down Chiswick High Road. We get to the Marks and Spencer food store, we both down our briefcases, and we really go for it, hammer and tongs, as only friends could. As we're arguing, this guy walks over. Big burly guy walks over and says to Martin, "You having problems with him? Do you need a hand?" I had to pull Martin off him. And in the end, me and Martin chased the guy down the road. But did it stick to Martin? He'd never walked in my shoes. He'd never experienced that level of racism. 30 years ago. We are best of friends today because of that. Because of that. Not many remember everything you said, but everyone remember how you made them feel. Let me close off now. I want to bring everything I've said to you, I want to bring it together. Allyship. We're in this thing together. It's beyond race. It's about the world we want to build. It's a society we want to live in. For us in the UK, it's building a better Britain, but it's beyond our borders. Everybody in, nobody out. Inclusive leadership, believe in everyone. She has the voice of an angel. She's won so many singing competitions in her time, but this is the big one. She's on national TV in America. It's the NBA national basketball game on the Saturday. End-to-end coverage across the nation. She's going to sing the national anthem. She's sung that so many times before. It's easy. It's straightforward. But on this particular day, something happens. Is it nerves? What is it? Is it just all got a bit too much for her? Anyway, she crumbles. In front of the cameras, in front of everyone. And then an American audience does what an American audience does. Starts to cheer and support her and makes it worse, makes her even more nervous. One person moves. Leadership is not a rehearsal. Allyship is not a rehearsal. This is not a time to be neutral. Stand up and be counted. Speak up, speak out. Make a contribution.
And now to honor America and salute the men and women serving our country with our national anthem, please welcome, as voted by you, the fans, our winner of the Toyota Get the Feeling of a Star promotion, Natalie Gilbert.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the stars' stars? Stars like last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets proud line and gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
It just says it all. His name is Mo Cheeks. He's the coach of the Portland basketball team. He could see her struggling, hear her suffering. He just went out, and he didn't just come to comfort, he stayed. He endured. What a role model for all of us. It's way beyond race. Now, our game changes. When this guy took that knee, how many of us realized how brave he really was? This has marked the change in our world. Do not let ourselves down. We can all be game changers. I want to leave you with 10 top tips, 10 things I think. Pick these up, run with them, and let's change the world to a better place. When we get our values right, everything falls into place. Inclusion is not a project or a process. It's a way of life. When we think independently but together, Where are our most powerful? Power lies in our differences, not in our similarities. Inclusion is not tolerance, it's acceptance. When I feel I belong, then inclusion is happening. Make every day your inclusion masterpiece. Every day. Appoint me for my abilities, not my race. Together there is nothing that we cannot do. The four most powerful words. When we're stuck, when someone new comes around, someone different is around, ask them what they think. Just drag them in, get their opinions. Make them feel that their voice counts. Make them feel that their opinion is everything. Four simple words. And you know what? If you're bold, you might fail. If you're not bold, you will fail. The simple mantra we've got to leave for all of us. Look out for each other. Look after each other. No one was born a racist. Thank you, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. I wish this was physical. You can see everyone screaming out there in the background. I wish I can do it. Egyptians are loud, but I'm super speechless. I'm sure I had goosebumps throughout the call. I'm sure everyone felt the same. So thank you so much for such a wake-up call and for such a powerful words. We really appreciate having you. I'm not gonna take more of the time, as I'm sure people would like to ask questions. So please, everyone, feel free to unmute yourself and ask the questions that you have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rene. That I have goosebumps. That was amazingly inspiring, super motivating. I've captured so many notes here. What really resonates with me is we're all leaders. We all have an opportunity to make that change. Some amazing tips you gave us. But on that note, what is the single thing that you think we can take away from this? Because we're all super charged and super motivated from what you shared with us. Monday morning, we go into work. Where can we get started in terms of inclusive leadership?
Stand up, speak up, speak out.
Yeah.
All the things we see, we know when we see wrong. We don't need to go to a college or a training course. We know when it's wrong. We just know. I did a session with a leadership team last week. And when I opened up, we were doing Black Lives Matter. We opened it up and the chief financial officer said, last week, I saw 2 female members of the team, and he named them. And he said they were treated terribly. And I saw it and I did nothing. I'm ashamed to say I did nothing. I watched them being treated really badly, and I did nothing. And the way he said it, it galvanized an open conversation where, believe you me, we turned a chapter. No one's going to do nothing again in that company. It's
exactly.
Time to speak up.
And in many ways, if you don't speak up, you're complicit. You're supporting, you're allowing that to happen. And I think we've all had scenarios where we felt, should I have said something? But if I said something, I put my head in the pulpit and then I risk my job. I think from my experience, when we do interject and we do speak up, you gain the respect of the people in your team, the respect of the people who are subjected to that behavior. And it's a lesson to everybody.
You do, but it's not easy. It's not easy.
Not easy.
Let's be clear, it's not easy. I've got some of the most senior people who stutter, who they want to say it, they want to. But many of our cultures, we're either too polite or we don't think it's appropriate. We think we might be judged. Can all that. And you saw that last clip, it's the support you've got around you. If you know there's people around you who'll support you, you'll find that little bit of courage. You've got to be bold. If you're bold, you might fail. If you're not bold, you will fail.
Absolutely. And just to finalize, so what is that assurance you can give people? Because I imagine most people are thinking, I'd love to act, but I don't want to risk my job. It's a difficult time. Should I be the person that stands out and risk ostracizing myself?
If this was a year ago, you'd have my sympathy and empathy. Something has changed. The first person that speaks up, every session I'm doing with different teams, the first person that's, whereas before you'd have got deadly silence, people looking at their shoes. people know. You don't now. You can feel the support in the room.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take long, especially there's a generation which will jump to your support. Those of my vintage will still be a little bit hesitant. But there's a generation which isn't hesitant at all. You won't get your sentence out before you get the support. Before you finish speaking, that support is at your side. That's what's going to make the difference. And if we see someone who's speaking up, support, support, support.
And that's leadership. Thank you, Rene, as always.
Any further questions?
Yeah, we got Mike.
Mike, how are
Hi,
you?
Rene. Very good, thank you, and even better having heard your talk. Thank you so much for that. It blew me away. I got goosebumps. There were some tears. So just genuinely, thank you. The question I have is, I love the Sainsbury's example because I've often been stuck with organizations for whom, if there is no financial incentive, there is no impotence to do something different, you know. And not everybody has the same story as the CEO of Sainsbury's. Do you have any tips on how we could sort of, you know, encourage organizations to actually take some of this stuff seriously, even if it's not affecting their bottom line?
So yes, I do. I think we all have a story. If they don't have a story, let's give them our stories. Let's share our stories. And the ability to give them the ability to see the world from a different perspective, our lived experience. Because honestly, some of them are not bad people. They just don't know their. When I went to Pentonville yesterday, it took me back 40 years to where I grew up. And I had to reach deep inside me so I could empathize with them. I've left that so far behind me, but it's part of me. And I realize that not many people have that breadth, have that sort of experience. I was at a dinner party the other day, and we're in Chiswick, and there's about 8 people at a dinner party, and everyone's saying, isn't it so wonderful to work from home? Isn't it so wonderful? And we had 2 lovely Caribbean women who were doing the cooking for the evening. I could see them nudging each other. Yeah, it's all right for them. They think, well, they can work from home. So just at the end, when I was saying, let's just give them a nice round, I said, so share with us, where do you live? I knew precisely what they would say. And for most of my guests at the table, you could feel the embarrassment as they walked in someone else's shoes for the first time. What some people say working from home, for others, it's living at work. Let's share our stories.
Thank you for that, Rene. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just have a question. What would you wish you'd known at the start of your career as a leader?
You've answered it for me. I wish someone had come to me and said, do you know what? It's not the subject matter expertise that's going to get you to the top, it's leadership. And, you know, when people say that a leader's born or a leader's made, it's a question I get asked all the time. Right? A leader's born or a leader's made. I put it to you, neither. Leaders are found. Leaders are found. I wish someone had found me a little bit earlier.
Interesting. Okay, what would you say your biggest learning then as a leader? I know you mentioned so many things. I have a list of things but yeah.
Do you know, it was that moment when, so my first day at school, my very first day at school, my well-intentioned mother, like many of the immigrant mothers, as I'm skipping off to school, she said, you just remember, you be twice as good as that white boy sitting next to you. What did she mean? I don't know what she meant. Skipped my way to school, got there, registration, sat down in the classroom, sat down. And as the teacher was speaking, I thought, Mum said, you be twice as good as that white boy sitting next to you. I looked around the classroom, there were no white boys in the classroom. But what it did for me was make me realize I didn't need an inferiority complex. I need to be the best me that I could be. The minute I started believing I could. The minute I started believing that I could.
This makes me think, doesn't this have to start with the education system at school and kids learning that? Then
where we started today, no one is born a racist. We're taught to hate, we can be taught to love, we can be taught to believe in ourselves. And if we surround ourselves with people who give us unconditional love, they support us, they help us believe in ourselves. But remember, everyone on this call is able to get themselves a mentor. Everyone on this call can be a mentor. There are some people somewhere who aren't quite believing in themselves today. Take a moment to go and believe in them. Take a moment to go and touch them. Take a moment to go and give them 30 minutes of your time. That's the leadership that we all need to show. And it's beyond race, it's beyond gender, it's beyond faith. Look out for each other, look after each other.
Amazing, amazing. Perfect. If we don't have...
Can I ask a quick question, please?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, Rene. My name is
Kingston. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm very well. Thank you for your talk. Yeah, you just mentioned that leaders are not born, and they are not. What's the other one? But they're not made, but they are found, right? I mean, that's a new spin to it. The normal, you know. So I'm wondering, when you say they are found, they have to be found by someone, right? And what do we do to be found? You've mentioned speaking up, but how do you
so Kingston,
put yourself in that position to be found?
Kingston, you can find yourself. You can find yourself. Give yourself permission to be a leader. Give yourself authorization to proceed. You can be a leader. Don't wait for, if you're not being found, you better find yourself. Self-discovery is fabulous. Give yourself permission to lead today.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
Can I jump in there? Or?
Oh, Mike, go on.
Brilliant. Again, just there was so much that you talked about there, and I'm just going to pick on something else there that you mentioned in passing. You said when you first got to Pepsi, you had the imposter syndrome.
Yes.
I think many of us, you know, as part of the community, would feel that on many occasions, primarily because in most of the rooms that we're in, we are the only ones. Any recommended coping mechanisms or things that we can do to try and relieve ourselves from that? Because once you put that yourself in that position, you almost live it out, right? You know, and
so it's really interesting. One of my very, very best friends, it's his 60th birthday tomorrow, Fitzroy. And me, Fitzroy, Ray, and Richard, in our late 20s, 4 black young men on our way up, trying to progress, we realized that there wasn't a lot of support. There wasn't a lot of coping mechanisms. There wasn't a lot of self-belief. So we made a pact. No matter what happens, we're going to support each other. No matter what happens, we're going to be there for each other. No matter what happens, we're going to catch each other doing things right. No matter what happens, we're going to celebrate. No matter how small the success, we'd send each other flowers. We'd send each other a card. And we've done that. And now we're all hitting 60. Tomorrow's Fitzroy's birthday. We're going out for dinner, the 4 of us. We used to have dinner once a month. I was on the board of IPC Media, and I was in the King's Reach Tower. We had 29 floors, the tallest building south of the river, next to the Oxo Tower, and I had my own entertainment suite because I was on the board there. So once every month, we'd rock up. We'd have our own chef cooking for us, overlooking all of London. 4 of us on our way up, and we've kept that going. We've just kept that going. And it's so important because you have so many things that don't quite go right. You have so many hiccups. But if one of us got promoted or someone got cited or someone had a really good week, boy, it's wonderful when someone outside recognizes it. And a bunch of flowers sounds strange. It meant everything. A handwritten card meant everything. There'll be a few flowers and handwritten cards tomorrow, I can assure you.
Amazing. Thank you, Rene. And just a question, as we build our community of BLIX here, you've been involved with working with lots of communities, lots of brands, lots of cultures. What recommendations do you give us as we build out this community? I love this, the story of supporting each other and continually making time for each other to support each other. What else do you think we should bring to the community of BLIX?
Do you know, I think, and I like this thing that you've put at the heart of it, inclusive leadership. And that means no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, no matter how you walk, no matter which football club you support, you can be part of us. We want people who want to be part of us. And everyone who comes in is welcomed. Everyone who comes in is made to feel they belong. The wider your reach, the more difference you have within it, the more powerful you become. And I think there's something amazing about the generation you're privileged to be part of, that it sees the world so differently, so much more progressively. And this everybody in, nobody out is so, so powerful. You know, the difference is our strength. And our power is our difference is our power. If you've got that at the heart of what you do, who wouldn't want to be part of it?
Hi, Rene. Could I ask a question, please?
Of course, Tracy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fabulous.
So, Rene, I had the privilege of meeting you in South Africa in 2017, I think.
I can hear that twinge. I can hear that little South African twinge. Whereabout?
In Johannesburg. I attended one of your... You came to a EOH company do.
Oh,
and you did a whole...
Robert Goodlonton.
And I got a book signed by Rene.
Robert is a fantastic man. I saw him in Cape Town at the beginning of the year.
Oh, okay. Yes, he's doing well. He's doing well. I just wanted to say I would recommend anybody getting hold of Spike and reading it. Rene, I am stalking you. I probably will stalk you for the rest of your career. I think you're an amazing person. I think you do really good work. And you're very humble on your preaching and your, so I thank you for that.
Tracy, I'm blushing. That's so kind of. I can remember the EOH day like it was yesterday. We had a fabulous time.
We did.
So when my book was launched, what they did, they said, we'll buy, I can't remember, they bought thousands of them. And they gave them to their customers, they gave them to every member of the team. And I came over and I did a tour. It was very, very moving. Do you remember the day? It was a fantastic day.
It was amazing.
Really, really, really good. I thank you very much. So what we must do, Carol, and you must hold me to this, for everyone who's on the line, if you get in contact with me, we'll send a free audio copy of Spike, the audio book, to everyone who's online today.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rene. And I think we'll all buy a copy. Can we ask that you sign it for us?
Of course. Of course.
Fantastic. Fantastic. One other thing, Rene, I think you tell amazing stories. I remember the story you told about First Direct and the importance of culture. I don't know whether you want to share that, but that was so powerful. You have a brilliant ability to tell a story that resonates. As many people said, it was goosebumps. Data, facts, they don't change behavior. They validate some decisions, but they don't change behavior. Stories are so critical, and we've been listening to stories for 200,000 years. What is your secret for telling those compelling stories? Where can we learn this?
So everyone has a story to tell. Everyone should be able to tell a story. And stories are delivered to you every single day. There's a story. But it may not be completely gift wrapped with the ribbon. You might have to add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, embroider it, stretch the opening a bit, give it a bit of a middle, give it a bit of it. And the more you tell it, the better it gets. But every minute there are stories. My next door neighbor, Michelle, she could moan for Britain. This woman can moan. She's outstanding at it. And she's just the world-class Olympian standard moaning. She's getting on a bit, so I look out for her. So every time I see her, I get ready for 2 or 3 moans. The other day, I'm at the gate, and she says, our postman, have you noticed he's getting later and later and later? She says, well, I wish we would go back to our previous one. He's been here 10 years. He's fantastic. So as she's moaning about him, up walks Phil, the postman. I thought, I'm not going to miss this opportunity. Phil, Michelle tells me you're getting later and later. And he looks down, he says, yeah, there's an element of truth in that. I said, what's keeping you late? He said, well, it's Roger at number 88. His eyesight is failing. So I don't just give him his mail anymore. I go inside and I read his mail to him. That's what delays me every day. I turned off Michelle. She'd gone by now. Now that was the end of the moaning. Gone by now. A little story. Every little story has a little moral in it. And everyone in the audience will pick out something little different out of it. You're getting stories fed to you every day. Just start to recognize them and work. Never tell people off. Just tell a story. Let them work out what good looks like. Stories, stories, stories.
Amazing. Thank you for that.
So as we're coming to an end, one of my lead team will share with you now a Menti to just use the code, because we would love to hear your key takeaways from today so that we can transform them into actions. And one action is to actually either become a mentor at BLIX or book your mentors with BLIX, because they're gonna be incredible leaders. I'm gonna put the link to that below, so feel free to book online. And let's just hear from you, your key takeaways from today, so that brings us to an end of the whole talk. And then we're going to take a group photo.
So just to clarify, Yomna, we go to menti.com and enter the code 55258 and give our feedback. Yeah?
That's right.
Right.
All good? Guys, thank you very much indeed. Been great working with you.
We would like to take a group photo with you before we close up, if that's fine with you.
That's fine.
Perfect.
I think as well, we'll give you a round of applause, Rene. This was a powerful speech, and I think we'll all take away so many powerful stories and principles and ideas that we will